Okay, I wanted to review the greatest integer function. For example, if you had this function, f of x equals this, the greatest integer of x. What does that mean in terms of a graph? And you do have your graphing calculator, and remember you can find the greatest integer function if you go into, under the math key, go over to number, and then go down to number 5, which is int. So int is the abbreviation for greatest integer function on your calculator. Now, how do you graph that and what does it look like? Well, first of all, let's talk about some values. So let's make a f of x chart and just plot some numbers. Of course, 0 is going to be 0. What happens when I put 1 in there? I get 1. Okay. What happens when I put 2 in there? I'm going to get 2. But what happens between 1 and 2? What happens at 1.1? What happens at 1.9? And basically, what the greatest integer function means is to take the greatest integer less than this number. So what's the greatest integer less than 1.1? It's 1. Less than 1.9? It's 1. All right, let's go here. What about 0.9, 0.8, 0.7? What's the greatest integer less than 0.9? I hope you guessed 0. And 0.8 and 0.7. All right, we have negative 1 here. So what happens if I do negative 0.5? What's the greatest integer less than negative 0.5? Negative 1. Negative 1. So that's how to plot it on a chart. You can type it into your calculator and probably get this. It's nice to try and look at what's between whole numbers on your calculator so you know that you can go to what's called table set function and set it for, say, start at 0 and do increments of 0.1 or 0.2 or something like that. Now what happens when we graph this? So over 1, I plot 1. Over 1.1, I plot 1. 1.2, I plot 1, all the way until I get over to 2, and then I jump up and put 2 there. What happens at 0, right? Well, at 0.7, right, I do 0. At 0.8, I do 0, all the way to here. So, right there. And then if I go at say, negative 1, I go down to negative 1. But what about before negative 1? Negative 0.9 down here. Negative 0.5 down here. Okay? Open circle on this end. Right? Because at 0, I plot 0. So there's an example of what the greatest integer function looks like on your graph. Now, in class today, some of us were having trouble graphing the greatest integer function. And I have one of the older calculators, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but I did get my calculator to graph it properly. And what you have to do is go to the y equal key, and you have the y equal key, and over here you have things flashing. Well, this flashing of dots like this, and it's 3 dots, and then this flashing of the 3 dots closer together. So the one with the 3 dots that has more space will graph the greatest integer function even on the TI-83 pluses. So if you have one of the older calculators, you can get it to graph the greatest integer function. So try it and make sure you can graph it. And that's it on the greatest integer. Have fun!